his hair gets to the stage where he's now got his strength back, he pushes those pillars and the whole thing collapses and everybody dies. That's the Samson Doctrine, and that involves Israel's nuclear weapons. If they realise that they are going to lose this war and it becomes existential for them, then one of the things they have claimed that they do is unleash destruction on the rest of the world, like Samson pushing the towers and the whole thing comes collapsing down.
This is, going back to the situation with Iran and Israel, one of the things I was thinking a lot about from some commentary that I'd seen is Israel really have a motive to get rid of Iran because Iran have repeatedly threatened Israel.
It's also because, Israel's trying to get rid of the Palestinians. And in that sense, Iran has been probably the major bulkhead supporting the Palestinians to say, let the Palestinians survive, let the Palestinian people continue existing. And the Israelis have been pushing and pushing and pushing the Palestinians out. It's a hornet's nest. We've provoked a hornet's nest. Iran is responding right now, I think, in a very judicious way. But if the Israelis realise they're facing an existential defeat, that scenario, it would again mean civilization potentially gets destroyed.
And just looking at some of the things that Iran have said about Israel, historically, the supreme leader of Iran stated in 2015 that Israel would not see the next 25 years. Other officials said things like the end is near. And in March 2026, Iran's tone shifted from ideological to purely retaliatory, with the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Mohammed, stating that Iran has officially declared that it considers all Israel energy, water, and IT infrastructure legitimate targets for irreversible destruction, with zero restraint. If we think about this from a psychology perspective, you've got two neighbors. They're both either implying implicitly or explicitly that they want to wipe the other one out. Trump is sort of this third party in the arrangement who's not in the region, so he might be a little bit safer. Those two parties that are against each other, one of them has nuclear weapons and the other appears to be trying to make one. The neighbor that is Israel, presumably, cannot let that happen. Because if it gets to a point where they both have nuclear weapons and they both want to wipe each other out, I actually think that the old days of mutually assured destruction were a more stable time than what we're in now. Because if you realise that if you attack, you also die, you don't attack. But what if you think of death as being a better thing than life?
You have to have a society continuing after you die. If you're going to be a martyr, there has to be people who are going to mourn your death. If you believe being a martyr means everybody else also dies and you don't do it.
So do you think if Iran had nuclear weapons, it would be a safer world?
I think it'd be safer because it would tell the Israelis, stop attacking your neighbours.
I sat with a few nuclear experts, and one of the things that was shocking that I learned is if the United States wanted to launch a nuclear weapon today, it is one person's decision.
I heard that, and that's why Trump can actually just make that decision.
He can make the decision on his own. He doesn't need to consult Congress or anybody else. He has someone who walks around with a briefcase that has the nuclear codes in, and at any moment he can make the decisions. And when I think about the same in this region, actually you don't need a whole state to decide that they don't like their neighbor. All you need is one supreme leader, or Netanyahu, to say, do you know what? I'm near the end of my life, and these people have really pissed me off.
Yeah. That's right. And I thought there was at least some control. I saw that segment.
With Annie Jacobson,
I thought there was at least some control. He had to consult someone. But they had to have circumstances which justified not consulting someone. If he's got that right, then it comes down to what's the behaviour of the person who carries the nuclear football. Does he let Trump get hold of it? And there was another incident way back, I think in this 70s or 80s, that the Russian early warning system reported that there was a nuclear attack on the way to Russia, and there was one submarine commander or one element of the submarine command system, and they had to have 3 people in the submarine who agreed to launch an attack, and this particular person refused. Now, if that hadn't happened, if he'd agreed with the other 2, there would have been a nuclear war at that stage. And it wasn't real. It was a false alarm from the system. So even the Russian submarine had 3 people who had to make that decision. So we didn't have a nuclear war. Now we've got one maniac in this White House who could do it.
I'll play Annie Jacobson's clip now where she talks about the idea of sole authority, which I think is an important thing for people to understand, because when we think about who we're electing to lead are nuclear capable countries,
Yeah.
you have to think about who you want to give sole authority to.
The United States president has sole presidential authority to launch a nuclear war.
What does that mean?
It's exactly like it sounds. What's so interesting is a lot of this stuff, this nomenclature that gets thrown at you, if you just break it down, it's solo, presidential, he's the POTUS, authority. He doesn't have to ask anyone for permission. Not the SecDef, not the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, not the Congress. I love the worried look on your face in this moment because it is, once you know that, you say, well, first you might Google, is it really true? And you will get, for example, on Reddit, like, that's not really true. You'll get like hundreds of thousands of people, coming in with their opinions about how that's not really true. Well, it is really true. It's absolutely true. And in fact, during the former President Trump administration, Congress became so sort of, I want to say motivated or alarmed by this issue, meaning they were being asked questions by the powers that be. Is this actually true that they released a report stating specifically, and I quote it in the book, yes, it is true. As commander-in-chief, the president has this sole authority. He doesn't need to ask anyone.
So what is scenario 4 in your envelopes there?
Iran disables Israel's nukes. Nobody can know, but I do believe that Iran has not developed nuclear weapons.
So you're hoping Iran disables Israel's nuclear weapons?
I am. I hope that happens because that takes out the nuclear option. Okay? We won't see nuclear war as a result of this if the only nuclear weapons that we know exist in the Middle East are destroyed.
But if Iran starts disabling Israel's nukes and attacking Israel that effectively, there's going to be an even bigger problem.
Well, not if we're talking conventional weapons. If it's conventional weapons and ground troops, then you don't end up with a nuclear winter and the death of everybody on the planet.
Wait, so you're saying you hope Iran invades Israel and takes out their nuclear weapons?
No, it's not necessarily invasion. It could be the missiles they've got left. Again, we don't know how capable their missiles are. The level of planning that Iran has done in this war, I had no idea of the fact they had those 31 regions, for example, until the war began. My specialty is economics, not global military politics. But once I learned that, I thought, they have really thought this through. They have war-gamed what happens if they get attacked by America. And they've war-gamed it comprehensively. Now, I hope they've also war-gamed if we start defeating Israel and Israel realizes they're going to be wiped out, then the possibility for the Samson Doctrine comes in. We have to disable that before it happens.
How could they possibly, they don't have a functioning military left in any sort of typical sense.
In Iran?